Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This evening, my guest will be Mr. Lionel Cornelius. He's the president, CEO of LCOR Entertainment. How you doing there, Mr. Cornelius?
Doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Oh, thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
How long have you been in the entertainment field?
Wow. That started when I was about 5. I grew up in a family of entertainers. So at age 5, my mom stuck a trumpet in my hand and said, you need to do like the rest. Coming from a family of 15, 10 boys and 5 girls, we all kind of grew up with some kind of instrument in our hands. So that was the beginning of it. My older brothers came out, they were recording stars, and it just kind of catapulted everyone else into the industry. So it's been about, 25 years, maybe 30 years? I'm going to keep off a few years.
It's been that long? Oh, God.
Yes.
What are some of the known productions that you've been involved in?
I'm just getting fresh with this industry as far as producing.
Correct.
I come like I said, I come from the family that started out producing their own music, so I'm kind of piggybacking on what was already generated.
All right.
Now, where we are today is, working on my first production, which is myself, a solo project on myself, coming out with a production as well with Cornelius Brothers 2, which is the younger 2 brothers of the family.
Okay.
And then there are probably 3 or 4 other productions that I want to have up and running by the end of this year of some young talent here in Charlotte, another young talent out of Raleigh. So, we're trying to gearing up now. Again, when I started out at 5, I didn't get back into it. We started singing when I was about 12, doing stage performances, that sort of thing.
Yes, sir.
And then, I kind of went on what we call hiatus, stopped singing with the family, and became a husband.
Okay.
And after that, I went back and got into television. I became an actor, worked with Miami Vice for like 3 or 4 seasons. Became a principal actor, SAG member, and it's been just trying to make it happen from then on.
I know you spoke to my boys, my sons, and you also talked to their friends, and you really encouraged them with a lot of knowledge about the entertainment field, and I really appreciate that. And one of the reasons why I invited you on the show is so that you can educate the whole community with that same type of knowledge, because I think that's very important that the people that's out here in our community be aware of the knowledge that you have, and to understand that it's not all as easy as we think it is.
Well, with any gift, any passion you may have to succeed in, the work involved at getting there is enormous. And I think we kind of take the shortcut when I talk to young kids. They look at the shortcut and they say, well, so and so made it, but they don't realize that he's been 10 years
Correct.
into getting to that position. There's a small number of talented artists or singers or actors or anything that may just kind of step into the business, and as you know, maybe overnight, maybe a year or so, they've now became what we call top 10, top 5 artists.
Correct.
Even if you take the artists of today, behind the scenes of them now being a Grammy winning artist was about maybe 5 or 6, 7 years of practice. So there's a lot of growth there that you have to develop before you can really call yourself good at what you're doing. And when I talk to kids, they don't have that they don't think that way. They don't
Correct.
have that concept. It's just I'm going to become a star overnight. And it's going to happen for me tomorrow. And that's just a false perception, and it doesn't happen that way. I try to nurture them into understanding how to get to that next step.
That's great. Is it true that what they say, you are who you hang with? I mean, that's a very big statement, I know, but I know a lot of us hang around certain people and expect to be different. How important of your people you associate with in the youth?
Well, I grew up in the hood, and image is everything. And if you start associating yourself with those that may not have the same vision or same dream as you, then it's hard for you to not become that. So now you have this extra struggle that you're on, trying to accomplish your dreams and your passion. But on the other side, you're dealing with other incidents or other problems that just won't allow you to release. And it's and and we always say that you're judged by your character
Correct.
and who you're around, even though you may not necessarily be that way. And ironically, you asked me that question because I grew up, in a town called Dania Beach, Florida.
Okay.
My father was strict on me, but I hung out with the guys at the park, and although I knew mentally within myself that I wasn't truly exactly like them,
Correct.
I wasn't actually going to cause anyone any harm just because I was in that circle. It didn't matter.
Correct.
Whatever happened in that circle, I was a part of. And it's hard for you to, separate yourself from that when that one false or one bad decision you make or was made within that circle. You're all part of that circle now, and it's sad because now you haven't experienced or had an opportunity to make the best out of yourself simply because of where you were. Now, saying that, I don't want to point out that everyone's bad.
Correct.
But you have to understand, when you're in a position to either help or you have to back out. And I always teach my sons. I teach my sons to lead, not follow. And when I say that, if you see something that's not right or it's not, the right thing to do,
Correct.
lead by either discussing it or back out. That's your choice. And that's what I try to instill in my kids.
That's awesome. Question: why is listening so vital to artists, to becoming a really good artist?
How would you learn if you didn't listen? We go.
Correct. I mean, because we got a lot of these artists who thinks, these kids just come out and they think that they're already some of the artists that's already out there, and they're not.
I still learn today.
Correct.
I take pride in meeting someone that actually knows more than I do. It's a blessing to me to run into someone who actually knows more than I do. And I welcome that opportunity to listen to how they got where they are, or maybe they know something different that I didn't, that I don't know. They have a different way of approaching something that may be different from me.
Correct.
But because I'm listening to them, okay, I'm humble enough to listen. I can now take their experiences and enhance mine. So it's important that you understand how to listen to where you are in this industry, because if you can't, it's going to be hard for you to go to that next level, because it's impossible for you to know everything. You're just not going to have it. And that goes back decades.
Correct.
From musicians who started out back in the day. I still listen to some of those musicians.
Yes, sir.
And I still listen for a reason to say, wow, I know we're doing this now, but they were doing it 40 years ago. So it's important for you to, have an ear to listening to those who are wiser, have more experience, because I don't care what the young guys say, there's the old school that was doing it before we were,
Yes, sir.
and if you don't listen to them, what else you gonna get?
That's so very true.
You know.
So very true. I say we got a lot of youth in our community that are dropping out of school, thinking that they're going to make it big in the entertainment field. How important is it for someone to have that education?
Well, discipline is a part of being successful at anything. school and education is about discipline. If you can't make your way through school, how are you going to make your way through being a professional at anything? Because the same discipline applies to educating yourself as it applies to becoming successful at any business. Matter of fact, it's harder. And if you can't get through the educational part of your life, how will you make it through the next step? You know, it's funny you say that, because I look at the youth today, and you're 100% accurate about, you know, we have this false premise that, you know, someone else did it, and he did it overnight, so can I. If you go to athletes, I don't care what sport you're playing, you know, it could be NASCAR. They just didn't get in the car yesterday and start driving.
Correct.
All right. A pro football player just didn't start playing. Yeah, there may be a few gifted ones that may have started playing at 12th grade in high school, but, you know, there's still that level of travel that he's going through in order to get to that next level. And you know, how many opportunities are you going to get as a pro football player to get out there to play pro football? So, you know, when I think of youth, and here's what I try to tell them. When you have a gift that was given to you from up above,
Correct.
okay, first thing you need to do is understand what that gift is. All right? And sometimes you cannot really establish what that gift is unless you've gone through the process. That could be school, that could be, you know, just putting yourself out there in community centers, and just challenging, you know, what's available to you. Now, as you know, probably a lot of the musical courses in elementary or middle school or high school have been taken away to some degree.
Correct.
So they don't have any outlets, which is where I'm taking you next. You know, the reason we kind of develop what we are today is because we want to make sure that the youth that have the gift of either singing, acting, dancing, talent of any sort, you know, whether it be media, being an IT techs, computerized, a cameraman, we want to make sure they discover what their passions are. And if you can't help them discover what their passions are, then they're lost, because they're not getting a lot of it at school. So, you know, I want to try to take the youth and try to identify their gifts, you know. And again, a lot of times you can't understand what your gift is until you're in the school environment.
Correct.
Because if you're not there, you don't know where your mind is taking you. You know, you're just out in the open. You know, you're out in the street. You're not establishing anything. So it's important for them to understand that, you know, stand on task, understanding what your passions, what is that you really like? What do you like to do? You know,
That's very key. That's a key thing right there.
how are you going to achieve that? You know, what's driving you? You know, how do you need to educate yourself to get to that level? You know, I also think of image. You know, branding and image
Correct.
is the most important thing to this day. And a lot of kids, or some kids I've spoken to, and says, well, you know, I'm my own brand, my own image, you know. And I use the analogy of buying a CD or either going to a burger joint. If they didn't package it for you in a certain way that was pleasing to you, if they just threw you your food, it was just flam bam, no wrapping, whatever, and would you sit there, would you buy it? When you look at CDs,
Correct.
CD packaging, nice, clear, beautiful package, beautiful photograph of the artist, dressed to the T, photoshopped up, you know. That's what attracts those young kids, not only just the music, but the packaging. So take that analogy with yourself, and when you wake up in the morning and when you go out into the public, think of yourself as branding yourself, your image, packaging. How do I want people to receive me? Because image is the most important thing as to how you're received in this world, because that is your next step to being successful. Not only do you know you have to have that gift, but you have to be able to present it.
So you mean the sagging of the pants and all that? That's
Well, see, I wasn't gonna go there.
oh, you might as well. I mean, because they feel like that's a kind of like a youth type the sagging of the pants.
But when you look at that, everything that they like is totally different from who they are.
Correct.
So, it doesn't make sense. Okay, I wear my clothing that way, but what attracted me to my clothing is not designed that way. It's not branded and packaged that way. I did a little research.
Correct.
I looked at some CD covers. I looked at some print ads. I'm entertainment. I came from modeling. I don't see any of that. So where did it come from that we had to take something totally different from how it was marketed to me? And, well, it's called creativity.
Correct.
I'm going to create an image of my own that, is going to just make me different from the rest of the world. And then I'm going to try to figure out why I don't fit with the rest of the world and why